This is Boss Up with Mr. Key. I know we starting early, Wes. This is a real estate edition, a solo edition. And I was just about to tell a story. So I want to tell the story. It's not going to be what the podcast is about. So we may split it up. But so this story is, I have a buyer. This buyer needs acres of land. And this buyer needs to be able to build, I should say, a big warehouse so that he could park his fifth wheel. He also has a big truck that a truck that he needs. It's a King Ranch, an extended version. He also needs a garage that's the length of that truck, or either that warehouse to be able to house the fifth wheel and the truck. So anyway, we're looking at houses. I'm sending people to show them houses, and there's all kind of obstacles. First of all, there's one backyard where there's a huge oak back there. And here in Texas, you can't cut some trees are protected. So if that tree is a certain diameter and a certain height, I think if you can hug it, or if you can't hug it, you can't cut it, something to that effect. But the tree is in the way. So he can't build back there. Then there's septic usually on a lot of acres. So this guy, we're looking at different properties and we're like, I wonder if I can put it here. And I wonder if I can put it here. We even found a property that he loves, but he has to have this warehouse. And so we went through the deed restrictions and it says you could build it out of any material. Now we're talking to people in that area and they're like, well, no, you have to build it the same material of your house. His house is stone. So that means that this thing has to be stone. It'll cost more. Like, it's just a lot when people have like their criteria that they're looking for. So either we find the greatest lot, but the house is jacked up. Like the kitchen's too small. Now they're like, hey, we need to extend the kitchen. Yeah, we can keep. I'm like, nah, you're going to be living in a construction zone. That's not worth it. So it's just kind of one of those things that I know it's going to come. I'm wondering when the ideal property comes to this person, how they're going to react. Are they going to try to, he's already threw out like some low offers to people. Is he still going to be like, hey, I covered it. I love this property this much that I'm only going to offer $700,000 when they want $800 and can prove that it's worth $800. So, I'm interested in seeing what's going to happen with this one. But right now we're investigating some HOA policies to find out what's the dimensions, what are the setbacks for this warehouse that he needs for his fifth wheel. And so if you hear this podcast, you know who I'm talking about. He actually got me interested in wanting a fifth wheel now. Like, that's a lifestyle that, I'd like to explore for a couple of years, maybe traveling in an RV, setting up across the country. But anyway, I just wanted to share that story and get it off my chest. Now to your regularly scheduled program of Boss Up with Mr. Key, the real estate edition. I want to talk to you about building a business. And in particular, I really feel like when you build a business, you can actually plug and play. So for example, if you're talking about some industry where in the business where you have to sell a product or a service, I think when it comes to building a business and marketing the business and doing things, there's almost like a plug and play script. So just because I may talk about real estate, that doesn't mean that it stops with just real estate. So I just talk more about real estate because that's one of the businesses that I'm in. But again, you can plug and play and mix and match this into almost any industry. So I thought about it. I've been working on my brokerage and working with the company that is partnering with me to develop things to offer agents. And some of the things I want to know when I talk to an agent interested is, hey, what drives you? What do you want this to do for you? What is your motivation of being a real estate agent? Is it for like your family? Is it to change, your zip code? Is it to change your life? And I don't want to hear like monetary goals. Oh, I want to get $1 million. I don't want to hear the superficial, I'm going to be rich. I want to hear things that'll really change your life. So let's say we call that the due north. As a real estate agent or a business professional, let's say your journey is across the great ocean and you're in a boat. So due north is the destination. That's what you're shooting for. That's what you do it for. The next thing we want to look at is your value. What kind of value proposition do you have? Like, what makes your service or you as an agent, what makes you valuable? And when you ask most people that, sometimes, my availability with my clients, like, it's, again, superficial, surface level. Like, do you give out reports? Do you make sure the transaction is easy using technology? Do you explain things? Are they on point with are they on point with the schedule and the lines within the contract when they need to do something? Again, what is the value that you offer? I think many business professionals, talking realtors right now, have to figure out what value they bring. After you bring the value, you want to know what's the driving force. What drives this boat across the ocean to get to due north? The one thing or the many things that push you. What's driving it? A lot of times, if we're in the service industry or sales, real estate, it's the people. The people drive it. So if you don't have a lot of people to drive your boat, you're not going to get too far. But the more connections, the contacts, the more spirit of influence that you build, the bigger your engine and the faster your boat can move to the due north. So again, you got to have some value to be able to draw the people in, the engine of your business, so that you can reach due north even faster. The other thing we want to talk about is structurally having a system in place. You want to have a system in place and be fanatic about it, like operating it, getting it going, hiring when you need to hire, doing what you need to do if you need to cut costs. But you need to drive that. You need to drive that business. I mean, not necessarily drive the business because the people drive it, but you have to definitely have a structure behind everything, the system, the value that you add. How are they driving it? What time of day are you driving this boat? And then also you need to make sure that you have a coach. You need a mentor, somebody that you can tap in with and say, hey, okay, now I got this boat. I'm going due north. I have my engine. It's growing. I have a system to put the engine in place so that we can move. But now I need to make sure that I'm going in the right direction. Is my system working? If I check my system every couple of days, I'll get to the due north faster. If I check my system once a week, I may go way right, like, oh man, my longitude and my latitude is totally off. I needed to check in a little bit more. If I waited 3 weeks to check my system, no telling where I would be. I would be lost. So again, you need to tap in and check with a mentor, a coach. Hey, coach, how am I navigating? So, hey, tell me about your systems. Tell me about your value. Tell me about your engine. How is your engine growing? Your engine stays strong when you treat your people right. So again, you need that mentor to see, okay, hey, you're not really adding value. Your engine is not as big. Or, hey, you're doing too much of this. You're going to the left. Like, we need to get you back to the right a little bit. So being able to have that in place and a mentor and taking accountability, you know, now that you have all these things in line to drive your boat, you know, now that you have the systems to provide your value, to continue to drive your engine, now that you have that mentor to guide and kind of make sure you know that, hey, we're doing this and we're going the wrong way, steer it back in. The final thing you have to have is accountability. You know, this isn't going to be easy going through this voyage. You think about, you know, people traveling, you know, ancestors coming over in the ship, no matter how yours got over. I won't get into that, but just imagine how hard of a travel that is. You know, if it was an easy travel, many people will be selling boats. Basically, when I say boats, I'm saying businesses, companies, It'll be a lot at sea if it was easy, but it's not, So again, you have to take these things and keep yourself accountable, because it's nobody else's reason or nobody else's fault why your boat is not moving in the right direction, but you. You're the builder of the boat. You're the builder. You're the architect. And when it gets hard, remember you're due north. And again, so I want to be able to teach agents to look at being a real estate agent or professional in this light. You're building a company. You want to be able to contribute your commissions. Yeah, let me take that back. You want to understand that some realtors get a commission, and their commission is what they feed themselves off of. Like that commission is what pays them. So basically they're getting a check for their labor. They're a paid laborer, a contractor, which is fine. You can do that, but that's what you'll stay, versus being able to see a commission as dividends to your business, earnings for your company. When you look at it that way, it's a different philosophy when you become a real estate agent and you're trying to be successful. So again, I mentioned the boat and I mentioned the analogy. That is drifting and steering your company. But you also have to look at it as a company and not just you paying yourself for your labor. And when you think of it as revenue for your business, you are more opted or more prone to spend on your business to help it grow. At some point you have those people that are the engine. You can only drive it, you can only grow it as big as, you can do personally or your team can do for you. But you also want to add some revenue or add some of your profit sharing of your company back into that. So yeah, that's me, man. This seems like a serious message today. I'm pretty serious. I think I've been going on a juice fast, and I think it's like gotten me so focused because I'm trying to keep my mind off of being hungry. I'm just focusing on these things. But the thing is, as agents, I want agents to be able to see this, and I want them to be able to put this into play. And how do we do that? There's training. Like, you have to be open to train. You have to be open to practice. You have to be able to develop a business plan. Like, so I know some successful business owners that said, "Hey, Andre, I never drafted up a plan. I just put a system in place and went to it." And that's great. But eventually, I think you're going to have to resort back to a plan. You're going to have to put that on some kind of paper or a computer, like lay it out with, measurables and successes, and knowing when, hey, maybe my measurables are a little off. So a training is important too. I mean, that's something that, you want to practice. Part of talking about your value and the service that you provide, you want to be able to stack the deck when you talk to people. And what I mean by stacking the deck is that when you go talk to a client or a professional or whoever, you better have some practice. You better know what you're talking about. You better do your research on the subject matter. If you're talking about their house, you better know about the area. You better know about the comps and the comparables. If you're going to show a house, you should know about that house. You should have looked at the seller disclosure ahead of time, so you can stack the deck and you can show through your service how knowledgeable you are. That's important. And then as you get an idea of what your client or your customer is feeling, if it's a little outside of what you initially thought, because you've already stacked the deck and your knowledge base is strong, you can go in many directions. You can make suggestions that opens up a light to them that they hadn't thought about. So again, be prepared. That's how you give some service. That's point blank. Come in with knowledge. Knowledge is the new currency nowadays, I would say information is one of the top currencies. Attention is also a high currency nowadays, and so people have learned how to monetize that attention. The attention is the engine for their business. But yeah, man, I mean, again, agents, You need to try to get with someone or a team that wants to cultivate you as a business owner and wants you to understand that your destiny is more than just being a contractor. You know, if you really want those things and you know how you're going to get there and navigate the boat, then, I think that's half the battle. And so, again, this is an episode of Boss Up with Mr. Key. Any agents or anybody that, this video touches, please like, comment, subscribe. I definitely like to hear some feedback. I want to send this out to some of the agents I know, and hopefully we get a good response and I can get some of you on the show. But until then, that's it for another episode of Boss Up with Mr. Key, the real estate edition. Have a good one, folks. I'm out.